This episode of Kapow is brought to you by Joey Statham at Copperleaf Properties. Joey is a lifetime multi-million-dollar producer. If you want an agent you can really trust, one that will really listen to you, you need an agent that knows how to effectively market and sell your home, give Joey Statham a call at 256-494-7544. That again, 256-494-7544. Joey Statham at Copperleaf Properties. Also brought to you today by Mac Butler and Butler Electric. If you're looking for a competent, reliable, and a very professional outfit to handle your electrical services and needs, you need to give Butler Electrical Contractors a call today at 256-442-4255. Again, Butler Electrical Contractors, 256-442-4255. Hey, better get back to class is all I got to say.
What is she doing watching?
Welcome to Kapow, your man Jeff Underwood, and always on my right, your left, Jerry White, and he's back on his phone texting, doing whatever it is. What's going on, J-Dub?
I was monitoring the program, sir.
Oh, okay. You make sure my daughter was... Why are you watching, Haley?
Yeah,
I mean...
Oh, to be fair, class hadn't started.
Okay.
Okay.
First bell hadn't rung yet. Okay, good to see you,
good.
baby. I'm sorry. You get to class on time. Okay.
Let's get rid of that.
Who is your esteemed guest
now,
today?
I had to sit up straight, I feel like.
You got dressed up, wore a T-shirt. You never wear a T-shirt. You did it on purpose.
Well, no, at the store, I just found a T-shirt with my favorite verse on it.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm going to wear that.
I'm proud of you.
I hope that was okay, and I wore a hat. Is that okay?
It's okay that you wear a hat.
Thank you.
Even if it's a New York Yankees hat.
Well,
see, now I like her even better.
This is going off the rails. Let me get you back on the rails here. Go Yankees. Hey, Miss Teresa Rhea, thank you so much for taking time out of your extremely busy day to come join us for a few minutes.
Oh, thank you very much, Jerry. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
And I know that you really got nothing going on, right?
Oh, no. I just sit around drinking coffee all night.
Oh, she's one of us.
She's one of us, yes. Yes, I knew we liked her. So for the people out there who have been living under a rock that don't know you, please explain kind of who you are, and then we'll go in forth to what you're trying to do.
Well, like I said, my name is Teresa Rhea. I am a lifelong resident of Etowah County and Attala originally, Duck Springs.
Oh, yeah.
Go
absolutely.
Duck Springs. I left the area shortly for a little while. I went to college at the University of Alabama, but that said, I was educated in public schools. I'm a proud graduate of Etowah High School. Go Blue Devils. I earned a degree in microbiology from the university and worked for a very short time. I lived in Birmingham. I worked in research microbiology, the virology labs specifically at UAB for a while. And then I met the love of my life, Bill Ray, and moved back to Gadsden and learned very quickly there was zero demand for a research microbiologist in Gadsden.
Well,
so in order to put food on the table and support our family, I was fortunate enough to get a job teaching science at Southside High School.
Yeah.
Loved it. Sometimes you're just led into things and you wonder, why do these things happen to me? It was the best thing that ever happened to me in my whole life, I think. I spent more than 15 years at Southside as a science teacher, biology, physics, a little bit of computer science in the early days.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about computer science now. They're totally different languages.
So it was Commodore 64 writing program.
Oh, yeah.
MS-DOS script.
MS-DOS.
Yeah.
Oregon Trail, my favorite game.
Oregon Trail, you got it. My former students out there remember I had that for them in the classroom when they finished their work. That was their reward, was Oregon Trail. But I taught science at Southside High School for more than 15 years. Loved every minute of it. I still run into a lot of my students I had from that time, and it makes me very nostalgic. I miss it. I stayed at Southside both as a science teacher and as a school counselor, and then I had the opportunity to go to Gadsden State. It's another one of those things that I guess you're just led there, and you pray about that kind of change, because I didn't want to leave Southside. I didn't want to leave K through 12 education, but I saw this opportunity. I went to Gadsden State as their registrar and director of admissions. I worked with advising students, which I loved, and that's where I used my counseling degree. And then through the years, I stayed at Gadsden State for 20 years. Over the years, I worked in a lot of different things. You know, when you're at a small public school like Gadsden State, and it is a small public school, it's part of the Alabama Community College system, you got to wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
And so one of the hats that I actually wore was institutional effectiveness. That ties into workforce development, which links directly to career technical education. I worked with that for a very long time. A lot of our students go there for all kinds of reasons, but many of them will transfer to Jacksonville State or to other colleges and universities to continue after they finish their general education courses at Gadsden State. But we had a lot of students who came through our career technical programs, the skills training programs, the health sciences programs that earned a certificate, earned a degree. They got that skill that would provide them with a living wage. But what I found and what I saw over and over again as I looked at where our students went after they finished, they left our area. And that leads you to ask the question, why do they leave? They left because there was no opportunity here to use their skill in such a way that they could have a high quality career, not just a job, but a high quality career that provided a living wage to support themselves and their families. So they left our area. If you look at our demographics, you'll see that that's happening. My own children did the same thing because there was no opportunity for them here, so they went to Atlanta and Mobile. One of the things that I feel very strongly about is economic development, workforce development. We got hardworking folks here in our community. We got people that are strong and intelligent and capable and willing to do the work. The issue is we need to make sure that they have affordable opportunities for themselves and their children to actually gain those skills, to gain that preparation, and then have an opportunity for a career, a quality career that provides a living wage here in Gadsden. Keep our families together.
Amen.
Yeah, which is what really catapulted you into where your next step in life is right now.
Absolutely. Economic development and workforce development, they go hand in hand with career technical education, which is supported by our K through 12 educational system.
Sure.
We got great schools in this area. If you're fortunate enough to have a child who's going to one of the newer schools, count your blessings, because there's a lot of schools in District 10 that need some help. We need to make sure that we're looking at the resources and allocating the resources where they need to go to get those kids prepared. We're all in this COVID pandemic. Our school teachers are struggling with resources. Our families are struggling with, how are you going to do virtual schooling when you have low quality internet? The schools can do their best and send the student home with a laptop, but if that family can't afford high quality internet, if it's even available in their area, they're going to end up in the parking lot at McDonald's or the parking lot at a business or a church that's been kind enough to open their access up to them. I know when I was at Gadsden State, we opened up access to the internet, particularly at the very beginning of the pandemic. Remove the passwords, we'll provide, you got security, you got a well-lit place, bring your kids here, here's the internet, this is how you get on. But virtual schooling, I think a lot of the online things that we're doing with respect to education, they're probably here to stay. And the internet is a great tool for educators. Don't misunderstand me. It's not taking the place of libraries. It's augmenting those services that our libraries and our schools provide. The internet is a wonderful place to do research and to get information for students that don't maybe live in rural areas and don't have access to those kinds of things.
And we have plenty of that around here as well.
I know.
And the school systems did a great job. The churches did a great job. Gadsden State did a great job during the pandemic of opening up access.
Yes.
We did it here. A couple of our friends down the road at churches did the same thing. And I know my wife's an administrator in the school system in the area, and they even went to homes and
Yes.
help grandmoms that are raising kids how to get MiFis to put in their home to help them.
Right.
They all did a great job, and I think we do have some of the best educators in this area. Not just because my wife is one, but because it's true. We've been in these schools, and most of these teachers, most of these administrators really care. And I'm so thankful to be able to sit down across from one that's a career educator that has a passion to see this area do something a little different than it
I
has
do
in a while.
have a passion for this, and one of the things that we have an opportunity for right now through, some of the federal money that's coming in and some of the things the state has done is upgrading our broadband internet infrastructure.
Right.
We've started that, but one of the things that I want to work toward, and one of the things that's very high on my list of things to do and a goal is we don't need to just start it. The money that we've allocated right now for broadband internet infrastructure just gets us started. Come on, Alabama, let's finish it. Let's build this out. Let's give our families, our children, our students, our young adults, let's give them this infrastructure that's going to have them be able to access in an affordable way. If you're a working family, if you're a young family, and I've been there and done this, I came from a working family. If you're a working family, you might not be able to afford that extra $55 a month
Absolutely.
to get that fiber optic cable, even if it's available in your area. I live in Gadsden, but my brother and I own our family farm in Duck Springs.
Yeah.
And, I guess I'm a big Duck Springs promoter.
And that's okay. So am I.
There you go. Thank you. But no, we own a family farm, and we struggled, because we have relatives, our nieces and nephews and grandchildren live out there. We struggled to get them access to the internet in a way that was reliable, because there's nothing worse than you have a young kid who's maybe in early elementary school. They get started on the lesson. All of a sudden, the teacher freezes on the screen, and you got the parents scrambling around going, okay, how do I get this connection back? We just, and I know that I'm on the very edge and everybody doesn't have it, we just were able to upgrade to fiber optic cable, but it's like $50-$60 a month. Some working families, they're hardworking families, they can't afford that. We need to address that, and with this really once in a lifetime opportunity to do something good, to make this available, to bring Alabama into the 21st century, because our children are going to need those skills. Virtual and online is not going away. We need those skills. We need those resources.
It's true, but I also think that it really showed how valuable our teachers are. Some kids need to be in a classroom.
Yes.
Right? Because people learn different. It's different situations. So I'm all for the online, what we need to do, but being in a classroom, hands-on, where these teachers are really hone their skill sets to be able to do these things. It's so important.
You cannot improve, you cannot do anything better than that relationship between a dedicated teacher, and our teachers are dedicated professionals. They show up to work every day in this COVID environment, and they keep those children as safe as they possibly can. You cannot replace that relationship between a teacher who's dedicated to teaching and learning and seeing that their students that they're looking at in their classroom are getting the skills they need to be successful. We have a lot of kids that are in classrooms with, for a while everybody was wearing masks. And on the mask, that's a parent's choice. It's parents' responsibility.
Agreed.
They get to make those decisions for their children. But in the classroom, it is essential that students get maximum benefit from that teacher's experience, expertise, and dedication.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the transition from you're always going to be an educator, right? You're always going to be an educator.
I know. I keep pulling you back to that.
And that's okay, but it's still public service.
Yes.
And so what your next goal is still public service.
Listen, I left a job doing something that I just loved. I miss the students. I miss my colleagues. I miss everybody I worked with. I miss the actual work. Don't misunderstand
Sure.
me. And I left that job after 30 plus years. I'm not looking for another job.
Yeah.
I'm looking to continue service.
Mm-hmm.
I have dedicated my life to working in service areas, both teaching, community service, volunteering through my church, through other community organizations. I'm looking to continue that. I have something to say, and I want to say it in such a way that I can affect positive change on our communities, and I think I can.
Well, I think this is a big decision going in this race.
Yes.
So obviously you felt a need or a strong pull to fix something that's broken.
Here's what I think. I think the leaders that are, whether you're at the local city level, the small towns, in the communities, at the state level, in the legislature, in the Senate, we need to speak with one voice. We need to decide what's important for us and speak with one voice and work together. I think there is a serious lack of communication. Our legislators, our representatives are working very hard for their respective districts, but I think there's a serious lack of communication between the Senate and the House of Representatives.
That's an understatement.
Sorry, I giggled.
I think that we need to be singing from the same page of the hymnal if
Amen.
we want to use that.
Redback
Invitation
hymnal.
number 307.
Redback hymnal, all stand,
Just as
first,
I am,
second,
without
third
one plea.
stanzas.
Well, I don't mean to get preachy on you, but I do think that we need to speak with one voice. We need to get together and decide what our goals are, and then we need to look at not just the next step. We need to look 3, 4, 5, 7 steps ahead of ourselves and make sure that we know where we're going and that we're all on board. I've spent a great deal of time over the last, 6 weeks, 2 months, going to our cities, our communities, and speaking with mayors and other leaders in our communities, Etowah, Cherokee, and DeKalb. I think I've talked to almost every single mayor out there, and before I'm done, I will talk with every single one. But one of the reasons that I did that was to tell them why I'm running, for one thing. But the other thing, and I spend very little time on that unless they have questions, my next question is, what are your needs? What are the issues you're facing here in your area?
We're not laughing at you. We apologize.
So we're seeing the live comments.
It's our mayor, Joe Taylor.
Our mayor, Joe Taylor, is he's a funny guy.
But what you're saying,
spoke with Mayor Joe Taylor. He's out every single day.
Yes,
no
is.
question.
Talking to the people
Yes,
of
he is.
Rainbow City. So is Mayor Scott Reeves in
Yes.
Hopes Bluff. And there's
Man, we
others
love that guy.
that
That's
are
funny.
out every single day talking to the people. They're riding the roads to
Right.
see if there's trash or limbs need to be cut. They're talking to people at the service stations and at the local
Oh,
restaurants and small businesses.
you mean true leadership?
True leadership. One of the things that I think we need to do is we need a leader in Montgomery. We need a leader in the Senate who's going to listen to those folks that are local, to our friends, our neighbors here, to know on a granular level, to know what their issues are and what their needs are, not just what I think their needs are.
Yeah.
I want to hear. I filled up notebook after notebook. I've got you can see I've just started my third one. On notes about what's important in our local communities, and I keep hearing the same thing. It's infrastructure, it's water and sewage, it's broadband internet connectivity. It's good grief, we're taxed enough already. Don't raise our taxes anymore. If you filled up your gas tank lately, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
We need our roads and bridges repaired. I've been on a lot of back roads recently in DeKalb, Etowah, Cherokee, and I grew up on one of those back roads, I'll just tell you. But I've done a lot of traveling around the district lately, and I've come to some bridges and overpasses that I think, please don't let me meet a school bus on this thing.
Absolutely.
Our mayors, our local leaders, they know what their needs were. I talked to some folks in DeKalb County. Man, they gave me a list. They were prepared for it.
That's good, though.
You know, they knew exactly what they named the highways and the streets and the mile markers and,
Oh, wow.
and exactly. You bet I wrote it down. And you know, I will, if I'm elected, I will look into that for them.
They're probably starving for somebody to communicate with them.
Well, you know, our county
Be fair.
commissions work hard,
Yep.
and they use their resources to maximum benefit. But you know, those resources are limited. We need to make sure that Northeast Alabama gets their full share of attention. You know, one of the things that's happening is we're seeing economic development being carried on in Huntsville. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
You
Yeah,
know,
like crazy.
Dothan, Mobile, Birmingham, all of these places. And we're not seeing that in Northeast Alabama. One of the things that I want to know is, why is this? You know, we have the workforce, we have the hardworking people, we have the resources. Goodness, look around you. We have the natural environment that's just perfect. We're located, you know, a short distance from Atlanta, Chattanooga, Birmingham, even Huntsville. We got the perfect location. We need to maximize on what we have, and let's work together to bring quality, high wage, high-paying, family-supporting industries to our area. So far, we
Talk
wanna
about
answer some of these questions?
yeah, we'll get to that. I want to ask this one, then we can get to some of these questions. What is something that you've done as far as talk about your skills with budgeting? I mean, the amount of money that you've been over and had to work with gas and say. I think that's very important when you put somebody in the Senate or the House or even over local government.
Yeah.
They need to know you've got their back, and you've worked with I guess what we talked about, other people's money before. So talk a little bit about your experience with that and budgets. Yeah.
Well, at Gadsden State, I was, of course, I just retired as their Dean of Students, and I oversaw $70+ million budget for financial aid, scholarships, those kinds of things, and that has to be balanced to the penny. Nobody goes home until the books are balanced. You know, I've managed resources for student services. You know, there's a lot that goes into being a college student, being an administrator, or being in student services. You know, that's a multi-million-dollar budget there. We were spread across 7 counties.
Yes.
That's a lot of pockets of money. Every single one of those has to balance. Not only that, there's the accountability factor. At the end of every year, we evaluate our programs, and it was my name on that evaluation. What'd you do with the money that you were given to advance programs, to advance services, to advance students? What did you do, and how did you do it? When did you do it, and how can you prove it? That's accountability.
Sure.
That's one of the things that I am very familiar with, and I'm committed to. Public money is not my money. It's not the college's money. It belongs to the people that are attending school. It belongs to the taxpayers that paid that money in, and we need to be accountable for what we do with it. I think our public schools are doing a great job of that. I think Gadsden State, which is what I'm most familiar with, are doing a good job of that. You know, I visited with our friends, this is outside my district, at Jacksonville State, because a lot of our community, a lot of our students go to Jacksonville State. I think that they're working to be very accountable with that money. But you know, it's not just spending it. You know, you can look at $3 million sitting in your budget.
Sure.
You know, as administrator, but you have to make an informed decision, a research decision, a learned decision about what you're going to do with that to maximize every penny's benefit for your goals and for what you want to get done.
Well, your job is when you're elected, and that's how we speak around here when we talk to people. When you're elected, your part of your responsibility is to establish budgets, and you got to have somebody that knows kind of what they're doing.
No,
Yeah.
it would help.
Yeah,
It'd be beneficial.
You would
Yes.
think we've got a
Excuse
lot. We got a lot of questions coming in, a lot of fans, a lot of people jumping on. Bradley Mullinax always comes up with some of the greatest questions for different people on here. Let me just get to one that. Let's ask this one of Bradley. We'll put it up on the screen here. Let's see if I can do that. I don't know why it's not doing it. Anyway, give us an example of a time when you saw something that needed to change and you worked on it and changed it successfully. I think that's a fair question. Good question. Yep.
one of the things, and this goes back to well, I guess my passion for student learning, and also ties into the accountability thing. One of the things that we see a lot of students that are first generation students that came to Gadsden State, and in student services, we don't deliver instruction, but we were there to support students. One of the things that we saw students that were coming that maybe weren't a serious student when they were in high school.
You're not talking about me.
Yeah, maybe that was me. I don't know. But one of the things that we saw that students were thrown into this different environment. If they're a first generation college student, it is a different environment. Sometimes it's a scary environment. What we did is we set up an advising center and a resource center and a tutoring center. We had volunteers. I was one of them. I went over there and tutored and advised, and faculty pitched in, and people that wasn't their job. They weren't paid to do that, but they volunteered to come and get those students ready, saying, okay, look, you can do this. It's scary to sit in that class, and you maybe have never been in a college classroom, and maybe your parents didn't go to college, but we've got some resources and we've got some support here. We got that initiative off the ground. It's running, and I visited with it a couple of weeks ago in the tutoring center. There were lots of folks in there.
Yeah.
It's a great place to study. It's a great place to get help. It's a great place to get advice. That's one of the things that we need to do. We don't need to just throw people into class if they're not really prepared. We need to make sure that they know that there are resources if they need them. Some kids, they come, some students, some young people, returning adult students, they'll jump in there and they're focused and they're ready to go. Others, not quite so much. We're there for everybody, and those resources are essential. So I think as far as a problem-solving skill, I think that's one of the things that we've done. We saw the pass rates go up for those early classes where we were seeing students struggle, students that were capable of passing, but they struggled because it was new. They didn't know the routine. It's like going to a new job. You don't really know exactly what you got to do. We saw our pass rates increase dramatically because of those efforts.
Sounds like it's a great job of communicating available options.
Yes.
So communication in your position, I think, would be very important.
You look around and you see where the problem is. You collaborate. You talk to other people. You talk to the people that maybe are having those difficulties. The people that are working with those folks that are having the difficulties. Just like these mayors going out into their communities, they're gathering that information, and I guarantee you, every single one of those folks are developing goals and strategies and ways that they can actually improve the issues that are being brought to their attention.
I think that's a great and an important skill to have, because you're dealing in the counties that you're DeKalb, Cherokee, and Etowah that you'll be representing. You're dealing with a lot of small municipalities that maybe don't know how to go out and get state money or federal money, or how do we get grant? How do we get these projects achieved, or you had alluded to mayors in the smaller towns giving you lists of things.
Oh, yes.
Don't you think it's part of the state Senate and even the House of Representatives here in the state of Alabama to help aid these local municipalities on how to get these things done that they're wanting done?
Absolutely. That's why we need leadership that's speaking with one voice. We need leadership that is working with those folks in Montgomery that's identifying opportunities for this area. We don't need folks that are pulling in different directions. What one's for, the other one's against, just because. What we need to do is we need to get around the table, need to make sure that we're all on the same page, that our leadership, the folks that we vote into office and that we send to Montgomery, are down there working for those communities that they're representing up here, and that they're all focused on a common goal. They may not all agree on every single detail, but as long as they're in the room and they're talking and they're communicating, it's not just one person's idea and everybody else is on the other page.
So that's something that is bringing these municipalities together in your district.
Absolutely.
And saying, okay, what do you need? How can we make it happen? And how can we work together collectively to achieve the greater good?
The greater good, exactly.
Wow. That's
Well, I think two skill sets you have that I think will bode you very well in this run is you've dealt with bullies and you know how to put them in detention.
Well, yes, student services is one of those things that you're. Don't look away, Jerry. Right here, bud.
Oh no, I was looking.
He's been in detention before. Let me tell you.
I was looking at Andrew. 'Cause I know he's watching.
Yes, no, yes, I've dealt with that. I grew up on a farm. Let me tell you where I came from.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned, I grew up in Attala, proud Ottawa graduate. I grew up on a farm. I knew that there was going to be mud slung my way, but if you've ever been on a farm, I don't mind a little mud.
Yeah.
No, that happens. That's who he is. That's just how he's run every campaign
Sure.
that he was. I was prepared for that coming in. My focus is on the folks out there that are looking for economic development, that are looking for opportunities, that are working hard and educating their children. My dad was a millwright at Goodyear. Wow. He worked in I will admire him to this day for this, and I'm grateful for it. He worked second shift for, golly, nearly 30 years. Not because he didn't qualify for first shift. What he did is he worked that 3 to 11 shift so that he could get up early, spend time doing his farm work, doing that sort of thing, then go to work so that he could educate and provide opportunities for me and my brother.
That's awesome.
I owe him forever, and I'm eternally grateful for his efforts and his hard work. He raised me to be a hard worker. I'm looking not for a job. I'm looking for the opportunity to work and serve.
Well, the second skill set I was going to bring up is dealing with people who are used to getting their way. I mean, the judge answers to you now.
Well, yes. I hope he's listening.
He's used to getting his way. He is the honorable judge,
Right.
but even he has to come home,
Right.
and then he has to answer to you. So you're used to dealing with those kind of people.
Yes, and to be honest with you, I've been in situations where I've had to make those hard decisions.
Yeah.
And I've dealt with students that perhaps weren't quite focused in the direction that they needed to go to. My job was to help that student understand, look, there's another way to do this.
Yeah.
Another way to do this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's communicate. Let's work out a plan. Let's see if we can get you back on track. One of the things as a high school counselor, and I spent a good many years doing this, one of the things as a high school counselor is that, when you're dealing with young people who are at that stage of growing up, they're trying out all kinds of things. And sometimes it takes that loving hand to redirect their attention in a different way that's going to benefit them.
Sometimes that hand is soft. Sometimes that hand is firm.
Need be.
I can picture this now, right? So the judge getting out of his robe at home, changing clothes, and you saying,
So you think Judge Ray wears his robe home?
He does. You may be the judge outside this house, but Your Honor, those socks go in the hamper.
That's right. That's
I
right.
can see that now.
Outstanding.
This is where the life is. Well, we won't go there.
Different show.
That's a whole different
Judge
conversation.
Ray, we want you to understand, Jerry's views are not mine. Okay, just be clear. Talk a little bit about you alluded to mudslinging of the farm, and obviously, most people that watch us are fiscal conservatives and even ultra conservatives when it comes to different things. A lot of people are going to say, "Hey, well, is she Republican?" We started on that in pre-show, just kind of talking and fellowshipping a little bit. So tell the viewers a little bit about that.
Well, just like a lot of your families, I love my husband. We're a team. I supported him, but like a lot of families, some of you root for Auburn.
Sure.
Some of you cheer for Alabama, and those two things are never going to meet up. The same thing is true for my family. Mm-hmm. We've been a house divided in our views for a long time. I'm a Christian conservative. I believe in being fiscally responsible. I believe in the rights that were given by our founding fathers, by the Constitution, by the Bill of Rights. Mm-hmm. I am very committed to making sure that we can choose. We're given that right. We, our fathers, our grandfathers, our forefathers, they fought and died for our right to choose. And I exercise my right to choose.
Amen.
I'm a conservative, both socially and physically, and I can't be anything else. Yeah. So.
We were talking about mask mandates that our president. He is our president, even though
and we should be praying for our president.
Absolutely, that he's trying to force, and some of the left leaning folks are trying to force. I love how you put it in pre-show of you can't come force me to wear that. I have a right between my doctor, myself.
Yes. One of the things, and when the vaccination came out, which, in Operation Warp Speed, it was rolled out in record time, which was, to me, absolutely amazing and was a wonderful thing. And I very carefully considered, my training is in microbiology. I am no healthcare expert, understand that. But my training was in microbiology, and I worked in that field for a short time and taught science. One of the things that I did is I consulted with my healthcare provider, with my doctor, with the folks at the medical clinic that I go to, and I asked them. I educated myself about the information that was out there, and then I made the choice for myself. I got vaccinated. I got both shots and a booster. I got a flu shot. Maybe I got every shot they would give me, but I decided for myself, and my husband did for himself, and my children do for their children and themselves.
Sure.
They decided that it was in their best interest to get the vaccine. That's your choice.
Absolutely.
It's not something that needs to be mandated or told, you must do this. It's your choice.
Yeah, I love it.
We've had people that have earned that right for us.
A couple more questions, and I'll get to these questions just one second. Kind of on that point, I was furious that our government thought that they could decide what an essential business was, that they could close a business.
Yes.
Hey, you can't go to work. I don't like being told what to do anyway.
Yeah. I can tell that about you.
It kind of is. I mean, my wife,
very transparent.
my job, my pastor, my Bible.
Yeah.
My Bible first. That's who tells me what to do. I don't even like all those. Some of those commandments I'm iffy about sometimes, right? But just talk about that. I mean, we need to. I mean, essential business. What does that even mean? I mean, I need to be open because it's essential to me making money for my household.
Exactly. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Small businesses. These are the backbone of our community. That if you want to talk really about economic development, the driver, the engine that makes it go, are our small business men and women. To say that your business is not essential and that you can't open your doors and earn a living for your family, I think it's a choice that should be made by that small business owner. I'm all for keeping people safe. Please don't misunderstand me about that. And I'm all for doing the sensible things, but for an outside agency like the federal government to say you can't open, you must close down, it's not their decision.
Amen.
It's the decision and the responsibility of the owner of that company or the owner of that business franchise to make that decision for themselves. Amen. And then it's the privilege of their customers.
Absolutely.
Do I go in or do we not?
Amen. Yeah.
It's about choice.
Yep.
It's our right.
So questions coming up. We knew it was going to get here. This is good morning, Miss Rhea. Talk to me about your stance on the rendering plant, your opinion of it, your opinion of how it came about, those kind of things.
My opinion on the rendering plant is I live, and I'm not a really good geographical mind here, but I live about 10 miles from that proposed rendering plant. That was the wrong industry, the wrong site. It was close to schools, churches. It was in a community that it would have negatively, I believe, impacted the environment. Furthermore, it was located near the Northeast Regional Airport. One of the things that, and I've driven around, going from DeKalb, is very near Albertville in the Marshall County at the Albertville Airport. I look at our airport, and then I visited their airport, and I thought, wait, we're going to put a rendering plant on this very valuable piece of property. It's called the Northeast Regional Airport for a reason. You know, it's already got an existing long runway. What we need to do is we need to develop that, but we don't need to develop it by putting a rendering plant at the end of those runways and it negatively impacting the businesses and the environment and the traffic around those schools. This is just not a good idea. Agriculture is a huge industry in our area, but rendering plant, no, not there.
Good.
I think that rationally, a good rationally minded person would have thought, why do you even get to this far? How in the world did we get this far deep into this where it makes no sense for this thing to be in Etowah County, much less at the airport?
I think right. I think rational minds sit down and listen.
Yes.
They educate themselves. For me, I'm big capitalist. I love money. I love industry. I say I love it. I don't know if I love it, but I like it a lot. But I think it's important that we have industry. So when all of this was first proposed, I was for it. And I make no bones about it, but I didn't know where it was going. I had no idea. I wasn't educated. We sat down with Joe Taylor, the mayor of Rainbow City, and Joe explained to Jerry and I where it was going, what the process was, what were the ins and outs, the ups and downs of it. And when he walked out of that room that day, my mind was changed. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah. This guy knows what he's talking about. He's done his homework. He sat down and talked to us like we were human beings and didn't talk down to us or to us. He just shared with us information. And being rational, I made the decision, you know what? He's right. We don't need that in that area. And so sitting down with people is a huge thing.
Sure.
And you had already alluded to that. I'm going to bring these people together. So when and if the rendering plan or something like that happened, as a state senator, would you come in and sit down with all the people involved and just say, okay, let's get on the same page and figure out, the state brought it to you, but let's figure out what's best for y'all.
How else would you make that decision
Right.
if you don't talk to the leaders in the communities and the cities it's going to impact,
Right.
and to the people that it's going to impact? I can't imagine any other way to make a good decision with respect to that. You know, I know that agriculture, particularly poultry and egg and those kinds of businesses that farmers depend on, it's a big business for us. The rendering plant, when it first was proposed, yes, I saw that. Well, this might support those industries, but then as we got deeper into it, and we know where it's going to go in a populated area, surrounded by schools, by churches, by other local businesses. It just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So you're saying at first you thought it was a good idea. We're agriculture.
Exactly.
Let's bring it on. But after you did research, and you thought, hey, this isn't what we need.
That's the key.
Yeah.
After you look at the details, after you do your research, after you do your due diligence, just like if you're planning to open a small business, that's the first thing you do. You know, once you've done that, you realize, no, we need to go in a different direction here. So I'm all for developing industries. I'm all for bringing clean, high quality, high wage industries that allow our folks to use their skills and to stay here in our community. I didn't think that was one of them after I did the research.
Yeah. So I think it'd been a great idea, like our esteemed mayor here, Joe Taylor, is putting on a forum.
He already gave me the Citizen of the Day award. So I'm coming to get that plaque.
We're moving.
Don't you try to take my.
We're moving from that. Just like our great mayor Joe Taylor is, because the medical business wants to come here to Rainbow City, and he's sitting down up front with the citizens, open forum. If this would have happened with the rendering plant instead of the shady crap that was going on, and no one can say it wasn't shady crap going on with the rendering plant.
People have a chance. They have an opportunity to change their mind. They should be able to change their mind if they sit down and get that.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
I applaud Rainbow City for putting this on and getting people involved and saying, here's what it is.
Agree.
Yes, and I plan to attend that. And actually, I reached out and I spoke with Mayor Taylor about that, and I also I just called him up. I just said, what is this? What are you doing? What do you want? Chicken parts on the road or medical waste on the road? And he explained to me their business model and the pyrolysis and it's reduced to char and that sort of stuff. But you can bet I'm going to be at that meeting, where they're going to give everybody that wants to hear the details about that, because I think that we owe it to ourselves and we owe it to our community to explore these possibilities. If it's an industry that's a clean industry, it's going to bring quality jobs. If it's going to bring in tax dollars for Rainbow City, that's one thing. But I want to make sure that I got the facts before we jump off and go.
Industry, we've dove off into it. Industry. What is your idea? What is your plan? What is your thought process on bringing industry to DeKalb, Cherokee, and Etowah County to kind of prop up where major farming industry, Cherokee County, DeKalb, and even Etowah in parts have lost a lot of money with farming gone. Plants are gone, cotton mills gone, steel plants gone. Here's Goodyear, and different plants in DeKalb and Cherokee have shut down. Right? I mean, I think the t-shirt or sock plant's gone now. So most. So what is your plan for this area, and how are you going to achieve that?
Here's the deal. It goes back to where we initially began this conversation, is that a lot of industry proposals, the opportunities to recruit industry to our area, a lot of it's local, but a lot of it is driven by companies and industries reaching out to the Department of Commerce, to other agencies in Montgomery. Here's what we need to be doing. We need to, instead of having one-on-one meetings with those folks, we need to build a consensus. We need to get together and have our legislative delegation sit down with those entities that are getting this information about these possible industry recruitment efforts. We need to make sure that they're all on one page and that they are communicating, and then they talk about it among themselves. Is this the right industry for our area? Is this a good fit? Do we have the workforce? Can we support this industry? Do we have the infrastructure available? I applaud what the Etowah County Commission is doing with the Little Canoe Creek mega site. I think that they are making progress with that. It's not ready. We need to work to make that ready. We need to make sure that we are up to date, that we are on track, that when we get one of these opportunities, when we are in those meetings in Montgomery, talking to the Department of Commerce, talking to possible industry partners, that we say, look, we got this 1,100 or so acre site at the Little Canoe Creek mega site. Let's talk about locating your business there. If it's a clean, high quality, high tech, high wage, family supporting industry that's going to drive the economy in our area.
Who's your favorite county commissioner?
Well, now, Jerry, that's unfortunate. I'm not going to. They're all my favorites.
So it's like you can't pick your favorite Beatle, right?
Yeah, right. But I'd have to think about that too.
Okay, we'll circle back to that.
Yeah, okay.
So Bradley Mullinex asked a question. Did we burn a bridge with the commission department with this rendering plant fiasco?
With the Commerce Department?
I'm sorry, Commerce Department. Yeah.
I don't think so. Possibly there was some damage done there, but I go back to the leadership thing. If we are sending folks to Montgomery who have the best interest of these communities at heart, and we go down there and we are a united front, and we talk to them, there's got to be something better than a rendering plant available to industry in this area.
Well, I'm just gonna say it. It's my thing. And we talked to a ton of mayors, representatives, legislatures. We've talked to a ton of people. And when it comes to Andrew Jones in particular, the number one thing we get, he does not communicate. He does not, and I'm being real, he does not communicate. Talk about how important it is to communicate with all these people.
One of the things that I've done all my life is build teams, collaborate, build consensus, communicate. I think I can support that statement by saying that I I don't know how many miles I put on my car. But I've traveled to our small communities. I don't go and just make one stop. I go and I stopping by Coke at the 7-Eleven. I visit with the mayor's office, and and when the opportunity arises, I visit with law enforcement. I visit with people that I know, and people who they're neighbors of the people I know. I spend some time in our communities. I communicate. As you can see, I'm a talker. That's why I told you when we started this. I get passionate about these
John
things.
Moore warned me.
Oh, wow, John Moore, I'm going to call you right after this. That's one of, I get passionate about these things, and I will talk. I don't want to waste people's time, or everybody's business. We got busy. We got businesses to run, work to do, lives to lead. But I'm passionate about these things. I will talk about these things. I am a communicator. I think if you talk to my staff, and I oversaw staff members from every level of employment in my most recent position over 7 counties. And they'll tell you, I came to them. I was in their office. I visited with them. I listened to what they had to say. I wanted to know, where are your problems? What are you dealing with? How can we help? Or no, I can't help you with that. We're going to have to get together and solve this particular issue. It's going to take several heads to reach a resolution. I'm a communicator. That's what I do. That's the first thing I'll do when I'm elected. Is we will all get together and meet and decide that we're going to work as a team.
Well, I feel communicated with right now.
Yeah, you were communicating. So,
I am communicating.
So
Absolutely.
thank God for communication. Thank God for that. So you're saying you're not. Thank God for Mayor, former Senator Larry Means, for checking and knowing the tricks of the trade and
None
public
better.
notices,
None better.
checking the classifieds where our senator right now has hit a couple of things, public announcements, and thank God for Larry Means knowing the tricks of the trade. So you're saying I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be up front. If I'm proposing a bill or I'm proposing this, I'm going to put it out there, and everybody's going to know.
Everybody will know. I think that's been one of the issues, is that sometimes bills were proposed that were a bit of a surprise to fellow legislators. Not the way I operate. We're all going to be on the same page.
Yeah. Well, let's ask this question by Miss Reba Stanley. I don't know if you know Reba or not.
No,
she wants to know, what did you do to help fight against the rendering plant?
Well,
Still there.
Yeah. I think the rendering plant issue is fortunately a dead issue at this point. But as far as me fighting the rendering plant, I do what I'm just doing right now. I talk to my neighbors. I talk to leadership. I talk to city councilmen about this.
You communicated.
You bet.
That is awesome.
They knew where I stood.
Well, there's more to this area and DeKalb County and Cherokee County than the rendering plant.
Yes.
And you stand up to it if that's what you feel. If you want to stand for it, that's what you feel. Everybody has a right. Everybody has a right to go against it. But we all have the right to choose. You said whether we're mean spirited or we're not. And I thank you for answering the questions.
Absolutely.
and
Well,
be impressed on that.
One thing I think about the rendering plant, it brought us together.
Yes, it did.
I mean, that's important.
Yes, it did. I don't live in Rainbow City, but
I saw great property that's for sale.
Oh, great!
I'll get
look
that.
into that.
I'll get that.
But I live right on the line.
Yeah.
So I was very interested in what was going on with respect to the rendering plant, and I looked at it and I made phone calls. I mean, at the very beginning of this whole thing. Number one, I educated myself on this because, at first blush you think, oh, new industry.
Sure.
And it's recycle, repurpose, reuse. It's take care of our environment. And then I looked at it. And then I talked to my neighbors. And then I saw all the Stop the Rendering Plant signs. And I thought, yeah, we're onto something here.
Yeah.
So...
Well, I propose if you'd have put pressure on Mayor Joe Taylor and get us a minor league baseball team in Rainbow City.
Well,
the Fighting Taters.
The Fighting Taters. I will add that to my
Yeah.
to-do
Okay.
list.
You alluded to Mayor.
That
Go
may
back
need
and
another note.
yeah. Mayor Taylor, go back and watch it. She talked a lot about the her
She's happy with the Little Canoe Creek.
very
with the
excited about
way
it.
it's going, right, in direction.
Yes, and the hard work that's being done by a lot of different people at a lot of different levels, and it's not just the county commission. You know, they have support from other areas. I think Little Canoe Creek is going to provide opportunities, but we got to finish it.
Isn't that a oxymoron? Little Canoe Creek mega site?
Could be. Yeah.
We'll talk about that
I
later.
majored in microbiology, not English.
That's a different show.
We're officially now tater bugs.
We're going to need t-shirts.
I guess. It took us about 6 months to get them, but we have Mayor Taylor T-shirts. But we need the tater bug ones. Go ahead and fix that. For
So
us.
how can people get behind your campaign? How can they reach out to you? One thing you said earlier is you called Joe Taylor and he answered.
Absolutely.
That's important.
Answered.
That's important.
I didn't have to leave a voicemail.
I
didn't
did.
have to text him and say, I left you a voicemail.
I did.
He picked up the phone and we talked, and he was gracious enough to talk to me for quite a long time. And I've called him more than once for clarification as I've been out and talking to other people and asking questions. And I wanted to hear from someone in his level of responsibility who I truly believe has the best interest of Rainbow City and even the surrounding areas at heart. You know, he's one of those rare individuals that he's really put his heart into a job for which he's receiving no pay.
So websites,
exactly right.
events, how can people just reach out to you? Facebook, website, such.
Well, Facebook, of course. Campaign Teresa Rhea for Senate. I'm having a campaign kickoff fundraiser event tonight at the venue, 5 to 8 o'clock. Awesome. Drop by and see me.
We'll be at church. Golly, we'll pray for you though.
Well, that's why it's 5 to 8.
We have communion.
Come in at 5 and then, or go out to church. We over by 7.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a fair point.
That is fair.
You're
You're right. And
we'll
you're
see.
welcome.
We'll see at 7:30.
Okay, what's your second excuse? That one didn't fly.
He's hungry. Dinner's at 5:30. Sorry, buddy. Yeah. So you got to go.
Yeah.
I'll see it.
And I do have a website, teresaray.com.
Very easy.
No space.
And it's not RAY.
It's RHEA.
Are your signs going to look as good as your husband's? Because he had some really nice signs.
He did.
He did. Did you design that?
His sign game was strong.
I personally believe that might look better.
Oh,
Awesome.
I saw a couple of them.
We did like his signs, though. We did talk
We need
about
one to
that.
hang up in here.
Yeah, we do.
That'd be great. Anything in closing? Obviously, you're not doing this alone, right? You have a great support team.
I've got a great support team, and I've received support that covers the entire district, you know, and it's been positive support, and I've been very gratified by that. One of the things when you put yourself out there for public office, and you first do it, you go, I don't know how people are going to feel about this. I have been blessed and rewarded by having folks call me up and volunteer and say, you know, what can I do to help you? Or bring me a yard sign, or, you know, I want to attend your event. Tell me when it is again. I've been very gratified by the public input that I've received. It's been very positive. I'm very grateful for that. I have been blessed to have had a job. I have been blessed to have had a career. I have been blessed to be able to work in positions where I loved the people. I loved the work. You know, those kind of things don't come along all the time. I think that this next endeavor, I'm not looking for a job. I'm looking for service. I'm looking to continue service. And that's what I want to do.
I spoke with a lady just the other day, kind of backtracking here, that worked with you.
Yes.
Oh my God, Jane Hughes.
Yes, Jane Hughes.
Yes.
Know Jane well. Jane's another one of those that, you know, Jane worked in adult education, getting those students ready to take the next step.
Yes.
Like we said earlier, some people weren't very serious students when they were in high school at that first opportunity. Aren't we glad that we can provide opportunities for those folks?
She's a tough cookie.
Yes, she is.
I like her very much.
Yes.
Very
yes,
much. Hello,
yes.
Miss Hughes.
Hello, Jane.
Well, we want to thank you, Miss Ray, for coming by and being a part of Kapow and just hanging out with the average folks for a little bit. And
Some being below average.
especially
I'm sorry.
Jerry.
I
below average.
am, and I come from a working family. I am your average citizen.
Well, we appreciate it. Hey, everybody out there, stay close, stay clean, love each other the way Christ loves you. And I promise you, Etowah, Cherokee, and DeKalb County will be far better for it.